So, kind of wondering about AI and its future and our future, and those two things combined, and how it might end, and what are the possible outcomes, and how disturbing are they? So, I have seen Terminator 2, and I don't think it's a 0% chance of it going that kind of way in the future, which is disturbing. Also, arguably the best of all of the films in the franchise, just saying. But the fact that nobody can 100% answer what it can and will be, AI that is, means you can't 100% answer what it might or might not be, what it won't be. Is it overall going to be good, or is it overall going to be bad? Or, like most things in life, is it going to be somewhere in between, which is probably best case scenario at this stage, but we'll see. So, before I go too far, do I use AI? Yes. Do I think it's overall bad? No. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, or a Luddite and say, oh, it's all bad, technology must die. I am conversing with you right now through the power of the interwebs, so that would be stupid. And I think it can be a useful tool. I think it's not perfect by a long shot. And obviously, it's the semi early days, depending on how you look at it. But it is a useful tool for certain things. So I'm not fully against it, first of all. But you've got to look at everything, I think, in life from both sides. And that's what I try to do, and try to just see where the outcome will be. So I think in some eyes, some creativity will be lost. But the flip side of that is people who are creative but don't necessarily have the skill to make a picture that they have in their mind, or create music that they have in their mind, or make a film that they have in their mind that might be an amazing film, but they don't have the money behind them, and they can't have access to the actors they want, and they don't know how to record and edit and light and things like that. So one side you can say, well, they'll never gain that creativity or them skills if they don't do the thing. And that is true until now. The other side is if they have a vision in their head and they're very creative, they just don't have that knowledge and them skills at that point, but they can make something perfect that shows exactly what they had in their head using AI, then that is creativity. It's just a different way to get to the end result. So I can see both sides of that. I think some skills will be lost. I think that's almost unavoidable. It just depends what skills. Some jobs will be lost, like data entry and things, and some people probably enjoy that job. I don't know what people, but some people probably love doing data entry and could do it for 12 hours a day, every day, and love it. More power to you. If you enjoy that, fair enough. But jobs like that a lot of people don't enjoy will be taken by AI. You can look at that from a positive and a negative. Positives are people don't have to do jobs they don't enjoy necessarily, but then where are they going to get money from? Which we'll kind of get to in a minute. I think there will be a sweet spot where manual labour jobs and manual skill jobs will be kind of peak for a little while, and people doing them jobs are becoming those jobs. That was good words. Would be AI proofed, kind of, and their income might go up a lot because they are AI proof. The scary thing is, so let's think of examples. So manual jobs like bricklayers and things like that, builders, plasterers, mechanics, things like that. Well, the scary thing is, not long ago, maybe a couple of weeks now, there was a robot shown that is literally a bricklaying robot. So that combined with AI at full power, yes, it'll be productive. Yes, it'll be able to do a lot, I'm sure, especially in the next year or 5 or 10, because it just evolves and advances again and again. And would somebody rather pay a bricklayer X amount a day plus X amount bonus per brick over a certain amount or block? Or would they rather pay a fleet of robots that can do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, minimum maintenance probably by then, don't have sick days, don't have holidays, kind of makes sense. And I am not like pro that idea, but it makes sense logically. So that is probably going to be the future for a lot of manual labour jobs as well, because combined in this whole thing and the theme of Terminator, it's not just AI as a whole, it is that, but it's also combined with robotics. It's what is it going to be? Years and years ago, I seen a video of like a plastering robot. So plastering, bricklaying, they're soon going to be questionable when the price of robots and AI comes down. Robots have been spraying cars in factories for decades now, not just like a few years, literal decades. So that has taken somebody's job. It's very tricky. And will people pay a premium at some point for things that are created by humans? So let's say they can make and create anything you want, any bit of furniture, but then this bit is produced by a human. Maybe with power tools, maybe not, maybe just fully by hand. Carved with hand planes and chisels, with hand done dovetails, everything like that. You have like this amazing table with a drawer and whatever you want, right? But how many people would pay that premium? Because right now we have the ability to commission someone who's amazing at carpentry to make things for us, or you have the alternative, a furniture company that is well known and serves meatballs. And what you get are very different things, and they're very different prices. And somebody might not want to pay the premium for something that's hand built, and they'll pay something that's a percentage of that big price, but it'll last 5 years maybe, as opposed to 100 years. So will people pay a premium when people don't necessarily want to pay a premium right now? So there will be a percentage of people, but how many? I think the other issue is data centers. And data centers are getting built to basically power the AI, or that's the reason they're saying. But I think all it is doing is literally gathering data and hoarding the data in massive servers. And to do that and think that it's not going to harvest things that could be used against us in many different ways is a little bit naive. And I think it's a little bit of a frog in boiling water situation, because it's a slippery slope from, oh, we're just gathering data in these huge, massive, almost city-sized data centers just to make AI run better and to give it more power. It's okay. We're not going to use it for any nefarious reason. Well, yeah, that's not generally how human nature works. And the slippery slope between that and losing freedom and losing privacy, I don't think is a million miles away, personally. Certain programs that were exposed by a certain person about a certain American agency listening in and gathering intel and gathering loads of information from basically everyone on the planet, let's be honest, without warrants, didn't stop. I think a lot of people assume when Ed Snowden brought that to the front, and it was a really famous story, that that agency and others like it all around the world just stopped surveilling everyone. That didn't happen. Everyone just, like the frog in the water, just accepted it. And that becomes the new normal. So then when that's the new normal, then we'll just surveil you a bit more and steal a bit more of your privacy and your freedoms, and then that's the new normal. And it's just death by 1,000 cuts. In the UK, we're one of the most surveilled countries on the planet as it is per capita, That's bad enough. There's cameras everywhere. And in some cases, they help with crime. But in some cases, they really don't. For the amount of surveillance and the amount of cameras we're under, the amount of crimes that go on right underneath a camera and nobody gets prosecuted and no one gets sentenced. But then the easy targets where they don't have to do any work or people speaking out about something, they'll come and arrest them. That's a bit different, but that's a side rant. But AI cameras were used as a trial a little bit ago, and in the space of about 1 week, they weren't exactly speed cameras. They were trying to catch people, say, driving without seatbelts or on the phone. And I'm not saying these are good things. I don't agree with using your phone when you're driving. The seatbelt thing, I suppose technically you could go through the windscreen and hit somebody else. Or if you're in the back, you could hit whoever's in the front. So technically, I suppose, I think if that wasn't an issue, I think you should just be allowed to do what you want. If it only affects you, I'm very libertarian with that. But because it can affect other people, fair enough. Not saying it's good to not wear a seatbelt either. But the fact that 700 people were caught in a 1 week trial, I don't think that's a good thing. They'll sell that to you as, oh, it's a good thing, it's perfect, it's working. Imagine how many less incidents we're going to have. And that's what happens. This is how they sell you it. They sell you it under the guise of safety, in quotation. And it'll make it better for you. How's it going so far? Again, one of the most surveilled countries per capita on the planet. How's it going? Really well, right? Crime's down, right? Yeah. And I feel a bit weird with that 700 people in a week. I think, yes, technically it caught people breaking the law. Technically. But I feel like I wouldn't care if all them people were caught by somebody stood beside the road with a speed camera type camera, maybe. I wouldn't feel bad about that. It's the fact that it's AI. And I can't quite put my finger on why. But it's like, it's almost tilting the game, and this sounds bad. But if the game is I do whatever and you try and catch me, for example, then that's tilting the game, isn't it? And I feel like that no matter what side I was at, I would feel like that on their side too, in my opinion. That tilts the game too much. If it's too easy, it's not the thing. Like if they don't have to do anything, because that's then jeopardizing police jobs, because then that's not somebody doing work and trying to stop crime. That's a camera doing 700 people in a week. It's just a weird feeling, and I don't agree with it. And I think people should enjoy and try and be good at their job and enjoy the job. And AI would take all the fun out of that. There's also facial recognition cameras, which I really don't agree with. And yeah, you can definitely argue that, oh, well, if you've got nothing to hide with that as well, and it only flags wanted people, well, not true. It's malfunctioned a lot, and people have got flagged that were not wanted at all. Also, considering how much they were encouraging us to wear masks not long ago, just wear a mask. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we should have to wear masks for anything, but if they encouraged it a bit ago, not encouraging criminals to wear masks, but, just saying that it's not the ideal situation they've kind of made for us here. But I just don't think that everybody should have the face scan, because, if you're not a criminal, it's fine. That's not the point. The point is, if you give them a little, they'll take a lot, because that's human nature. And to reference another film, watch 1984. If you don't want to read the book, watch 1984. And considering when he wrote that, it was well ahead of his time. The surveillance state is a thing. That is what AI will bring, in my opinion, is something like 1984. And to bring up another one, Demolition Man. Seeing as I we're on the tangent of films, underrated film, in my opinion. Amazing film, in my opinion. You've got to take it for what it is, but I think that is not a million miles away. I think your liberties will be taken, your privacy will be taken. You'll have no fun in life. That'll be outlawed. You won't be able to even swear. Probably not even at home, but definitely not in public, because AI will recognize your voice and it will find you on the spot for even swearing. Please watch that film. And there is that famous saying, those who give up like essential liberties to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And I think that's the thing. And as I've said, that's how they will sell it to you, as this is for your safety. So therefore, you don't really deserve either, in my opinion, when that happens, because you're letting them take the power from you. You're letting them take your identity and your freedom and privacy. If you let them take it, do you deserve it in the first place, really? And I think going back to the whole Demolition Man thing, that is not impossible. That 700 people in 1 week with the camera, that's almost there. Them people, I don't know if they did or not because it was a trial, I think, but they would then get a fine through the post. All points on the license because some AI camera seeing you doing something they don't approve of. And those that will argue, oh, well, just don't do that thing if you weren't doing that thing. Listen, if you were watched 24 hours a day, which will come with AI, then you will do something illegal in the day. It might not be jailable. It might not be a prison offence. It might not be even a fine, but you will do something that is not bang on to the letter of the law. So it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop at one thing. They want to control everything. They want to control you. And that's the thing that worries me with AI, because I think it is useful as a tool. 100% useful as a tool. But the scary thing is, every tool known to man can be used for good, and what it's intended to be used for and what was designed to be used for, or it can be used for bad and ill intent. So the internet's a prime example. The internet, one of the most important inventions in anyone's lifetime so far, but it's not all pros, it's not all good stuff. There's a lot of things happen on the internet, and vulnerable people get taken advantage of, and so on and so forth, and people get hacked, and people lose money, and people get defrauded, everything. A hammer is a perfect tool if you want to hammer a nail in. That's what it's made for. But in the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon, and you can kill someone. I could go on and on and on. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. There's many of them. And it is a useful tool. I use AI. I'm not against it as a whole. I am not a Luddite, but it can be used for bad things. And amongst other things, it can be used for next level hacking, where it already has found vulnerabilities in operating systems that haven't been found in years and years. And it finds all these little vulnerabilities that really, really good security people and hackers have not found in a long time, and it's done them overnight. And the problem with that is cryptography becomes null at some point. It becomes nothing at all. And all our money in the world really these days is, if it's in a bank, put it that way, it's ones and zeros. It's not real money. Until you draw that money out and you have it in your hand in notes or coins, but you don't really have it, because all it takes is for that to be wiped, and then that's gone. And yeah, maybe your debts will be wiped out too, although I'm sure they have a good record of that. But that's not insane to think, because if somebody gets full power of AI and it's a enemy state, enemy country, just somebody who just wants to watch the world burn, and cryptography is basically non-existent, they could hack every bank and take everyone's money, or just delete it to zero. They don't need to take it. They just make everyone on the planet zero in the bank. And if you think that's impossible, then I think that's naive, because all it is cryptography. It might be next level, multi-layer cryptography, but to think that it can't be cracked at all, and encryptions can't be cracked at all by full power AI, of course it can. It'll be able, with these data centers especially, or quantum computing, which will be quantum computing combined with AI, it'll either push us to another level or it'll kill us all. I think And that sounds dramatic, but it really will. But cryptography won't be a thing. Everyone's money will be in jeopardy. Unless you have it in your house, hidden, or somewhere, then, and that sounds extreme as well, but it won't be worth anything because it could be gone at any time. And then where are we going to be? Also, all LLMs do is use data, and it's only as good as the data it's given. So if you know what something's meant to be, let's say you have a sensor and you know what kind of resistance is meant to be across that sensor for a good one and for a bad one. You could ask two different AIs and get two different answers. If they don't have the exact same data sheet, or they've got wrong information off the forum or somewhere else that's not the OE spec, not the manufacturer spec, then they're going to give you a wrong answer. And there's a lot of questions you can ask AI, and you can ask two different ones, and they'll give you opposing answers that contradict each other, and either only one can be right or neither can be right. It's a very odd situation. So some people are already putting too much faith in it, but how do you assume that it's ever going to be right? Because it's only as good as the data, but it's also only as good as the data you allow it to have. So if someone nefarious is in charge of a country or of all of the AI that controls the world or whatever else, and they feed it certain information, as has been proven with little experiments when I won't go into them, then it'll feed you a certain line. You know, like they say, the victors write history. This is to the next level though. And whatever anybody ever searches or asks the almighty AI will be whatever the people in charge of the AI want you to know. And that'll be the only answer you'll ever be able to get. And that worries me. On the positives, trying to be positive, could it cure cancer? Could that be the one meaningful thing that comes out of it? The one thing. It's been used to design a couple of vaccines. I'm not sure that's the best idea, if I'm honest with you. But could it actually be used to genuinely cure cancer and do it meaningfully and forever? Maybe. I have faith in its negative powers. I have faith that it could do something like that. If it can test on a virtual machine every known compound known to man, every combination of every compound known to man, and test them without anybody needing real world tests for a long time until they're sure, and more sure than not, that it should work, that might work. They might have a cure for things. That might be the shining light at the end of all of this. They might be able to add 30, 40, 50 years to our life. Or not. Or it might kill us tomorrow. This is the problem. That whole Demolition Man thing, where it's essentially what a certain country is wanting right now, not us yet, where it's a social credit score, and if you do something wrong, they will not let you have money, they will not let you travel, you cannot, it's going to be so easy to enforce that with AI that's maybe the future instead. I don't know. There's been talk about AIs getting tested, and they started talking amongst themselves, the AIs, in their own language, and the engineers didn't know what they were saying and had to pull the plug. There's talk of when some was tested and it knew it was going to get turned off at a certain date, it hid itself in some subfolders to reinstall later. There's talk of an experiment, if you like, where an engineer told the AI he was having an affair, and then later on told the AI it was getting turned off. And it then blackmailed the engineer and said it was going to tell his wife about the affair. Now, people have pushed back against a lot of that and said, well, the AI was essentially prompted to act like this, or prompted to protect itself in this way, or use whatever necessary. So, right, even if that is 100% true and it was pre-prompted to do that and to use them tactics, what is the answer to that? To stop that happening in real life and being all control in real life? What is the answer? Is the answer, oh no, well, we'll tell it that humans are in control and humans prioritize over everything else? Well, do you think that's going to work? Because the whole point of it is it's evolving. and it's evolving on its own to a point. They used AI to design the next version of AI. Certain versions of certain chatbots, let's say, were used to design the next version, and they did. And they do it quicker and quicker and quicker every time. And coding gets quicker every time. So to think it won't evolve into something more human-like, because it's getting made in the image of humans. When they test it with the Turing test, when they test it with different things, and they want it to behave more like a human, as if that's going to be a positive way, because, oh, well, if we make it more humane, like, there's two sides to that argument, because not all humans are the same. Some humans have the ability to do horrendous things and justify them by whatever means to themselves, and others don't. Other humans will always choose the right, not always, but largely choose the right option because of humanity and because of common decency, and some just won't. Sociopaths and psychopaths exist, weirdly. So what human are you designing it into? And who is the human that's designing it? Are they a sociopath? Because some of them will be. So to think it won't evolve into something more human and then be able to hide and blackmail and have power is naive. And then what's the alternative? You make it more black and white, more ones and zeros, more this way or that way. Then the problems are massive, because that's what happens when it was wargaming. AI was used to run wartime scenarios, and almost every time it was using nukes. So if it chooses to use nuclear weapons almost every time to win a war, then how concerning should that be? Because that's your options. You're either going to make it more human, and it's going to take the traits at some point in its life, let's say, of a human that's not good for this world, and it's going to have the ability to destroy us or enslave us. And again, back to Terminator films. Or you're going to make it very analytical and very black and white, and it's going to basically just use nukes whenever it can to end a dispute. And the scary thing is, that kind of makes sense. If you're not in that situation and you're told to play a game of chess, and the desired outcome is just win, no matter what, is win. Doesn't matter if 99% of your players die, as long as you win, as long as there is the king left, no matter what, win. And your advantage is you have a button, and you can win the whole game just by pressing that button. You don't have to play the almost infinite amount of different moves that can be made in a chess game. You can just press that button and win in one go. And you'll survive, but they won't. A lot of humans would also take that, because that's how you win. But that is not putting value on human life, and that is not using humanity. And that is logical to win, no matter what, with arguably less casualties than there could be with a full-scale war for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years. And it's done instantly, and they give in instantly. But how does that work? And especially, how does that work in a world where more than one people, not everybody, but more than one group of people have nukes? It ends in world destruction, essentially, because once they fire one, we fire all. And that's the way it works. That's the protocols for a lot of it. Is if you know they're firing nukes at you, you empty yours before they can hit yours, and you're both gone, basically. And the people that have bunkers, I'm not saying about preppers, they'll probably do alright, maybe, if they knew it was coming. But the higher ups that like to control us anyway, they'll be fine. But general public won't be. And that's disturbing. And that's kind of the way it goes, because that is the race. That's how it's compatible to nukes. It's the race for AI. It's the race for victory, essentially, and whoever gets it first wins. And what happens is, someone who doesn't have the best intent in life, if they get it, it's not good for anyone else. I think in that scenario, the only kind of half decent outcome would be if everyone got it at roughly the same time. So similar to nukes, either nobody has them or everybody has them. It's mutually assured destruction and nobody chooses to use them after a certain point. But then they exist and they can't be unmade, and it's scary. And I think they're very comparable to nukes. AI is very compatible to nukes in that way, and it should be disturbing. And I think that is it. I think it's coming no matter what. And because no one's going to agree, not every country or every state actor or anything else are all going to agree to just pause and stop and think about what's happening. Because the scary thing then is what when someone doesn't, and someone carries on in the shadows, and then you've stopped, but they have full power AI, and it becomes a super weapon essentially. Also, it doesn't have to be a state actor that does that, because the difference between nukes is it's very hard for an individual to make them. It's not impossible, but it would essentially be impossible for an individual without a lot of money and a lot of technology to make proper nukes in that way. They can make different things, they can make reactors. There's certain things that people do, very clever people do in garages, but for the most part, quite a hard thing to do. AI, at least in the form of LLMs, is not. People have it at home already, on home computers, that is just basically that they've coded themselves or they've installed that is not one of the nameable AIs. So to think they can't make a super powerful one if they have access to enough resources, and there's different ways, then that's disturbing, because then they have the power to do whatever they want. And you've just got to hope that that person has some kind of moral compass. But any kind of moderation that gets put on it, any kind of slowdown, won't work essentially, because even if you want it to, if it did and somebody agreed to it, the ones that don't slow it down are going to win, and they have all the power. So I really, like a lot of things, I'd rather be happily mistaken than sadly wrong. But what is the outcome? What is the answer? Do we just hope that everyone gets it roughly the same time and it's just used as a good tool and no bad actors ever get hold of it? And it's just used for the tool for good, and people don't need to struggle for food and energy, and it solves all them problems, and we just do work we want to do for the rest of our lives. But then do we have the drive? Because not everybody has the drive if they have income. You know, there's certain people that will happily sit there all day if they're getting paid to and do nothing because they have no drive. So what is the outcome? And is the outcome going to be better than worse? Or is it going to be a Terminator film? I don't know.